Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel Editorial Board interview with State House District 43 Democratic incumbent, Representative Johanna Lopez of Orlando. She's a former Orange County Teacher of the Year and school board member who is being challenged by Joe Melendez, a Republican and former legislative aide who most recently worked with State Rep Carolina Amnesty. We invited Mr. Melendez to join us, but he declined. So we will spend some time with Representative Lopez. And readers can find out more about Mr. Melendez on his website, which is www.votejoe443.com. And the 4 is a 4. All right, but I'm going to jump in with the question that relates to the ultimate duty that the legislature has, and that is to write the budget. Florida has had 3+ years of record spending, thanks to that big infusion of federal COVID cash. Over the next 2 years, however, the state's top economist says that Florida could go from a $2 billion surplus to a $2.9 billion shortfall. What should legislators do starting in the next session to deal with that reality?
In Tallahassee, we always have conversations and we provide feedback on both parties, individually and as a party group, and just representing our communities and our district. Obviously, the Democrats are not majority, so even though we receive budget from the federal side, we always have these challenges in follow up with our requests. Even though we think, what is better, or maybe, how can we work together to help better all Florida, not only those districts that only have Republican representation, is a huge challenge for us, even though we passed $116.5 billion in the budget, we have a veto of $949.6 million. And if you see, we tried in Orange County to pass so many appropriations, but at the end, we have this veto, even though we try to do it strategically. Once we win, we're supposed to represent our communities. We're supposed to, not a party affiliation. We have to work together for a stronger Florida. But in reality, that's not what we're facing in Tallahassee. And we see it, we saw it. So at this point, even though I try, in my case, to work with different organizations that I know wasn't aligned to any party affiliation or even aligned to the Republican side, maybe sometimes I think that is it for Orange, or is it through this specifically representative that is a Democrat, we're going to face more challenges than the rest of the other legislators. So I think that is a lesson, but I think that is also that we keep pushing. We need a lot of our constituents calling and emphasize the fact that once we're in Tallahassee, we work together as a team, not representing any party affiliation, so everybody can be benefited by the budget in the state of Florida.
For decades, state funding has been used to support local priorities, septic to sewer projects, mental health programs, arts and culture. And this year, hundreds of millions of dollars were cut from the budget, and including the entire culture and arts budget, which hurt Democrats and Republicans alike. Do you feel that the state should be helping with these local projects?
Of course. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. I think that they have to help us. We can do so much through arts and culture, and sometimes we don't see that support from the state of Florida. I have hope that because now we're going to have another speaker Maybe we reconnect and start having those conversations to see if we can have more support for Orange County, across the state. But I see that in Orange County, we don't have as much support as other counties in the state of Florida. I think that we have to have open conversations and public conversations that everybody knows that we are advocating for mental health, for arts and culture. We absolutely need that support. And sometimes we have speakers with different agenda, and sometimes it's the agenda of the governor. And so they follow certain issues that maybe are not the issues of our constituents. It's just an issue that will help maybe the governor to become a president. We can see even the changes in the priorities in so many ways, not only in the budget, but even in bills. So I think that it is something that we have to be watching constantly, because sometimes when our constituents realize what is happening, it's already on the floor just to be signed, or maybe on the desk of the governor. So we can be more outspoken and bold in our opinions and let everybody knows what is happening. That is not being fair in terms of putting the allocations in the right place at the right moment, and stop the persecution of Orange County. And sometimes I think that is because we are pretty Democrat in Central Florida.
Thank you for that answer. I wanted to change gears a bit to ask about Medicaid. Do you see a path for Florida to expand Medicaid to cover low-income working families? And what strategies do you consider that you think would be most effective in that regard?
Definitely, it is very sad when I talk to families about Medicaid. Medicaid needs to increase. In the state of Florida, we don't have enough benefit through Medicaid. And strategies, when we think about strategies, and we have to talk with majority, what can we do to convince the majority to support our bills, our concern, our constituents? Because I don't when we go and talk about Medicaid, it's like we are just disregarded and not even have an opportunity to speak about it or having hearings for those bills that we file. I think that maybe having conversations and also switch seats. I think that we need a level amount of legislators in the state of Florida. Having majority of one party and a small group of other party is not allowing us to advocate stronger, because we don't have the support. And I think that we have the hope during this election to switch several seats, at least 6 or 7 seats in the state of Florida, that might level that obstacle on increasing the benefits for Medicaid that is so needed in the state of Florida. I know for sure that all of us can provide at least one example in a person that is struggling with Medicaid, not having Medicaid. Why, if I have this person that have 80 years old, already pay her house, already have her savings, did what she's supposed to do when she was working, and now she's not having any benefit just because she did her job, and we're punishing her, not giving her the economical support to be in places to take care of her challenges with dementia. It's a lot of situation with Medicaid, and we cannot be blind about this. And we have a lot of examples in the nation that are working with Medicaid, and it's working in other states. Why in the state of Florida we don't have that opportunity? This is the state of people that are coming here to retire. Why we're having all of those issues and challenges? And I strongly believe that being a Republican state at this moment is the number one challenge. I think that we should have that conversation with them and say, you know what, let's start working for our community. Let's work for our state.
Would you be willing to support or file legislation that would give counties greater discretion in the use of tourist development taxes? And if so, what would be your strategy to get a bill through committees?
Well, that's a great question. I know provide a lot of controversial conversations with that allocation. And in the state, in Orlando, okay, in the state of Florida, I strongly believe that Orlando is one of the most appealing in terms of tourism. For me, we're the number one in tourism. When we talk about hospitality and lodging, we have even the biggest organization in the nation here in Orlando. And I strongly believe that we have to be very careful in terms of the allocations, that when we talk about this allocation, putting names out of the pocket that's supposed to be assigned. And sometimes when we talk, and as a school board, it was something that I learned, that sometimes we have discretional allocations. And we heard a lot of teachers saying, why you don't use this money in teacher salary? Well, because that money is for this purpose. And depends on where the allocation is, the appropriation is allocated, is where we can have that discussion. In order to assign the TDT to other purposes, then we have to change the purpose of the TDT. We have to go first to the policy and then providing, recommendations in how to use the TDT. We have to be very careful and educate our community because sometimes we just say what they want to hear, but we have to tell them what in reality is happening. And if we can change it, how we can change it, so we can have, the right answer and not having this unnecessary, sometimes controversy. Let's see what we can rearrange so everybody can have the right, appropriation in that with that purpose. So with the TDT, very controversial. I heard a lot of feedback on that. I heard commissioners providing another state rep saying that they can use it for transportation. In reality, that's not the purpose of the TDT. So we will recommend that. Then what we're gonna do to define again the TDT, and
Right.
then advocate for something. So I think that this is something. I think that this is a great conversation to have to different stakeholders and provide more feedback to help our state, because Orlando is a big thing in terms of tourism in the state of Florida. For me, number one, no bias.
So what I think I hear you saying is that you agree that as the law stands now, it should be used as it is. But are you willing to have the law changed so that the tourist tax development funds could be used for something else?
Yes, if we can have the conversation with the experts in tourism, if they provide proof and data, not arbitrary or just based on political interest. I think that if we make a very like informative decision, of course, but we need different stakeholders to make this decision. Cannot be like I see happen in Tallahassee, just changing the law with no reason, sometimes, like, and we can provide examples on that matter as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I wanted to hit one more budget issue, and this is one that I know is near and dear to your heart, or not always dear to your heart. With the education budget, one of the significant issues there is that Florida has approved a voucher program that could drain billions of dollars from public education budgets, and hand it over to schools that do not have real accountability, don't meet the same standards as public schools. And so the first part of my question is, what standards should Florida be applying to schools that accept vouchers, if you think any change is needed?
I am very concerned with the vouchers. I'm pro public education, okay? And sometimes I see all of those vouchers for private schools. And when we have public school and even charter school that works in certain places, I think that no, I'm not in favor of that unless it's something that the parent don't see another path for his child. But cannot be like just marketing like this is, we know that in the public school our children will have more representation than a private school, even though this is, and this is an individual opinion, but we have school board members. When I had received call from private school or charter schools, I think I said, I'm sorry to say that, but they have their own school board in the charter school and private schools. You just have to talk to the principal, even though you have any type of situation with that principal. So our community, they don't know how much power they can have for their children education through public education. But the misinformation of the current governor is just confusing our families. Public education is what makes us stronger, because diversity, inclusion, equity, we promote all of that. And we have school board members that people vote for them to be there and look for them. And I remember every conversation that I have with the superintendent if I see any problem in the school, and immediately a call solve that situation. Having conversation with immigrants, undocumented families behind the scenes to look for those children. But we don't have that in the private school. We don't have that with vouchers. What vouchers, and most of the time this is what the family don't know. I'm gonna give you a voucher, not enough to be in a very high quality private school. It's a school that sometimes you don't even know the grade. So you're taking the student from a school that he knows the children that is there is from his community, is more welcoming for him or for her to be in that school, and we're moving this child to a place that he doesn't know. Maybe the student needs ESOL services and they don't have it in the private school. Maybe need ESC services and maybe they don't have it in the private school. Needs mental health support and they don't have it in the private school. How many counselors they have in that private school? There's so many questions that the voucher is not enough to answer those questions or to provide the services that we have in public education. I think that we have to invest more in public education, to have more support, to have more counselors, to have more mental health, to have, I was talking to a social worker. She said, no, I have 6 schools. Social workers, 6 schools? We need a social worker in every school. And don't get me wrong, maybe we have need 3 in high schools that we have 3,000, and it's not enough with all of these mental challenges that we have here in the nation. We're seeing ourselves how many things are happening. So, but that's another conversation. I got excited.
Okay. We'll switch topics to another very hot topic, and that is parks, state parks. So the governor's office was revealed to be working directly with the Department of Environmental Protection to build hotels, golf courses, pickleball and disc golf courses with little public notice and study as to the environmental damage that they could cause. Only the public's outcry made them backtrack. What legislation would you suggest to ensure that doesn't happen again?
Oh my God, this is so sad when I heard the news, I think that we have to respect our parks, and we need a piece of proposal, a bill proposal to protect them. That nobody can talk about. This is not about business in terms of development or in terms of putting golf courts. There's a lot of beautiful nature through our parks. We can do so many things in a very natural way in the state of Florida. The state of Florida is so beautiful. Why we have to go and put hotels and put golf courses in parks? That's for our family. We have, how much problem, and I always thinking to myself, and I'm not an expert in flooding, but how many problems we have since the last hurricane that we have with flooding? That's going to affect directly our flooding issues in the state of Florida. We are here, and I strongly believe why the governor see our state more in terms of a property instead of seeing the state as our house, our family, our nature, and protect our nation. That doesn't supposed to be a political issue. Protect our nature is something that belongs not only to the Democrat but also to the Republican. It's part of our land and we have to protect it. It is very unfair that he's looking at the parks like type of investment. And I think that this is just part of his agenda for the future, and we have to start being more outspoken in terms of protecting our parks and educating and that's why education for me is number one in my platform. I think that education is the key to success in the state of Florida. I know for sure that if we educate our community about this idea of the governor with the parks, I know that more than 90% of the state are going to say no. The only people who are going to say yes is the people who has the hotels or the people related to the golf development thing. But I know for sure that our constituents are going to be against that. But it's short notice. It's this article, and everybody just, oh my God, really? So it's very, very unfair for our state. We have to protect our state, and I am very against that. And I think that there's a lot of ideas right now. Let's wait until the next session to see if we can see it in committees. But we need to develop a law to protect our parks. Definitely, yes. And I am here to help. If anybody have any idea and is watching this interview, they can come to my office and we can draft the bill. And if they trust me, I will be more than happy to file it.
Yes.
Can you give us your position on Amendment 3, which would legalize marijuana for personal use without a need to get medical authorization? And then we'll do a follow-up question on Amendment 4.
Yes, I agree. I agree in medical marijuana, and I also agree on recreational marijuana. Obviously, everything needs to be structured, obviously. And I strongly believe in that because, I met people that because of the use of marijuana, they have less anxiety. They, for autism, several people as well. So I saw people that can work better with marijuana than with other medications. And, I also think about, and this is not a new idea because it's the amendment is in our ballot, but it's in our ballot because of something. I always think that it's there because the majority of people agree on this. That's why we have it there, and we're not allowing the legislators to make a decision on our behalf. And that's the first great step, to have it in a ballot. I always think about my country, about Puerto Rico, and I remember since I was young, I say, we have in jail, we have people for using marijuana, okay? And I'm like, okay, so why we don't just put the people that are committed crime in the jail? And if you want to use that, that's individually, that's on you. That's the democracy. I don't use it. So that doesn't mean that because I don't use it, it's like smoking, maybe an alcohol, was legal, but wasn't legal before, was illegal. So I think that it's a process of also allowing democracy to just be, just you want to use marijuana and you need it. I respect you. I don't use it. Don't do it here or don't do it. We can put boundaries, And I went to other states where marijuana is legal, and even in places, offices, you can even smell, and everybody, I see everybody look professional. This is something that maybe sometimes the stereotypes or sometimes the misinformation behind the marijuana. I prefer to have it like that in an amendment because we know what they're going to have more supervision, and it's going to be more adequate, more better for the person that just having illegal places to have the marijuana. I don't think that is going to be a better product than to have the supervision and have the regulations needed to not be as danger if you do it in a private or illegal way.
So what is your position on Amendment 4, which is meant to protect reproductive rights, including abortion access for Florida women? And if it passes, do you anticipate further attacks on reproductive freedom from the legislature?
You know, I'm strongly happy. I'm a strong supporter of Amendment 4. I think that it was very unfair to take advantage of being a majority and try to take away our rights in the state of Florida. I think, you know, my mom born in 1927, she's 96, very clear, and she's pro Amendment 4. You know, this is not about gender. No, this is not about because you are young or because you are progressive. This is about democracy. This is about democracy and respect. And this is about health. This is an extension of medical health. You know, I prefer to have to have offices and medical support in these cases. You know, it's more safe for our women. Only us know what we want in terms of our body. Nobody can tell us what to do with our body. And I think that reproductive rights is in the ballot. And I think that it's in the ballot for a reason. And it's a way of our people, men and women, signing petition saying nobody's going to take away democracy from me in the state of Florida. And nobody's going to tell me what to do. You know, it's a way of making people respect democracy. You know, why we're running behind, why we're going back into the time in the state of Florida. We have to be very careful. And this is not related to religion. Religion is isolated from the state. So don't try to provide information to confuse our communities. When we talk about reproductive rights, even this is not only abortion, it's also the benefit that you have to have a child through another path. Doesn't have to be abortion. People only think about abortion, and it's not only abortion. It's more than that. It's the rights. It's reproductive right. If you want to have a child and you want to do it in another way, scientifically speaking, you will be allowed to do it. And we have a lot of people that cannot have children. Okay, so why they don't? And this is and it's sad to see people that never experience an abortion say no, she can adopt, she can use protection. Yeah, but the state of Florida are not allowing to talk about protection, not even in the school, to teach anatomy. So how come you're gonna tell a girl to protect that is illegal? Right now, they're banning the books that talk about transmitted disease, that talk about how to protect themselves, to talk about, you know, it's something very sadly, the lack of education will not allow if we continue with this type of information and trying to ban books and trying to not allowing our people to do what they want to do with their bodies, it's going to become worse, because now it's a cycle of mental health, depression, because you have to make a decision against your will because the state do not allow you, or you will be in jail to help your family member to go to another state to do the abortion, or you can put in jail a doctor. This is more than Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is more than reproductive rights. Amendment 4 is also about criminalizing our doctors, our families, not only women. So we have to vote yes in that amendment. I'm sorry, I got passionate again.
Completely understood. I had one more issue to tackle, and that's affordable housing. What is your opinion of the Live Local Act, the biggest piece of legislation that's meant to address the lack of affordable housing in Florida?
Not enough. Not enough. Obviously, I voted yes because, and I know, you know, most of us voted yes because it was the piece of bill for affordable housing after 30 years. We did not have anything with affordable housing. They did not do anything with the Sadowski Fund. That is for affordable housing. So that's why we voted yes, but we know that it wasn't enough. But that was the only thing we had at that moment, and that's why we voted in favor of that. But affordable housing is one of the biggest problem here in the state of Florida, more here in Central Florida as well. I not only affordable house, and when we talk affordable housing, it's not only to buy a house, but also the rents. And that's why we have a lot of homelessness here in Orange County as well. And affordable housing is very tied to the cost of living. So for me, when we see preemptions like not allowing the government to give more than $15 per hour in the salary, it's like, how come? Don't do that type of preemptions. Every district is different in terms of the cost of living. We need to increase the cost of living of our working families in order for them to live decently and have been at least find better places to live. Because the problem right now with affordable housing is not only, it's not only affecting our constituent, also the landlord. Because sometimes they say, wow, the rents are so expensive. We need a rental control. But what are we gonna do with the landlords when they have all of this increment in home property insurances? We talk about the tort reform, nobody pay attention to us, and we know this is gonna happen, and it's happening, and it's happening. We need to do something with affordable housing. Be creative in which type of affordable housing we will be working in places like Orange County, because now we have a problem with the homelessness when we have another bill criminalizing our homeless community, because they cannot sleep or be around state government places. If not, they're gonna go to jail, but they did not put any type of appropriation to solve the situation of affordable housing with our homeless community. So affordable housing, cost of living, our salaries is critical. I strongly believe that we need to raise our our cost of living percentages. We need another bill, 3% for me. We voted yes because at least we have something, but we need to be up 5% more. Salaries are very, very bad in the state of Florida and are not aligned to the rents and to the value of the properties. And the sad part is that we have investors from other states coming here to buy the properties. So we're losing our land in hands of people from other states because we cannot afford, based on our income, the properties that we have around us. This is ridiculous. I think that the state of Florida needs to work in laws that help our Floridians in the state of Florida to afford more properties, to be owners of properties, more programs, more initiatives, to be more creative in how we can help them in it, because the incomes are not aligned. So we have to do something with the salary and something with program and initiatives, and use the Sadowski Fund and not just ignore the Sadowski Fund and not even talk about that, because for the majority, the word affordable housing is kind of a bad word. We have to openly recognize and acknowledge that it's a crisis. We have a crisis in the state of Florida with affordable housing. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Keep talking and talking.
No, that is you're giving our viewers a lot of great information. There is so much more we could ask you. I know we could be here all day, but I promised your campaign staff that we would be done 20 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. But I did want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. And before we go to our closing statement, I did want to remind viewers that the Sentinel will be making a recommendation in this race, but we don't expect you to just take our word for it. We urge you to take a look at both candidates in this race and take in our excellent news coverage, their websites and social media presence, and other opportunities for public forums, and look to see who best represents your values. and could carry them out in Tallahassee in the state legislature. Most importantly, we're going to remind everybody that you need to be registered and you've got a little more than a week to register to vote in the November 5th election. And then you, on or before November 5th, you need to make sure that you make it to the polls and vote. So with that said, Representative Lopez, can you give us your pitch as to why voters should choose you in this race?
Well, the best, what can I say is that I love my community. I represent my constituents. When I vote because of them and for them. It's not how I think. It's not, it's not nothing personal. I know the struggles of my community. When I came here in 1998, I worked in the airport in a car wash. I worked in a fast food restaurant. I was a volunteer at Colonial High School, and I became a teacher at Colonial High School. And I think that my stronger story is not that I was teacher of the year or that I was a school board. I think that my strongest story is that I have a lot of struggle as a single mom who one day has to leave the house because of domestic violence. So I think that that's the strongest story. As a single mom, I know the struggles of my single woman. And I know as an Afro-Latina, all the challenges that we have in the state of Florida, but also all the opportunities that we have. Because I am here because of my students. I am here because of my mom, my sister, my family, my constituents who believe in me. And I try my best to always be visible. I don't say no that like my opponent. He always say no every single time we have debates or we have conversations at events. I don't lie to my constituents. I am very transparent. And I want to be accountable for whatever I'm saying. I'm doing wrong. That's why I'm here, I'm here to serve. I'm not here to just lie to my constituents. My opponent is saying that he is supporting immigrants. That is not true. He is against our immigrants, and he knows that. So I don't appreciate that my opponent go to the churches and lie to priests. I'm a Christian, but because of the fear that I have for God and because of the respect that I have for churches, I'm not going to do politics in churches. I'm going to do my job, knock on doors, and talk to my constituents. I am here for the churches to serve as a state rep, not to run as a candidate. And if they want to know more about me, they just have to call me, and I'm more than glad to go to the church and talk to them. I'm an open book, and I'm always available, and they see me. I'm very visible in the community. You just have to follow me and see that most of the time I don't even have time to post everything that I'm doing for my community. I am here to serve. And this is why, my community should vote for me again, so I can stay representing them and do better and better. There's always space to grow. And the only way that I can become stronger, if I receive people like you in my office, knocking in my doors, providing recommendations, writing emails, make calls. I'm here to serve. So anything that you need from me, and this is not about party affiliations. And I pass piece of laws with Republicans like Representative Plasencia. I am here to work for the community. Once I win, and right now, I'm not representing a party. I'm representing my District 43 and the values of the District 43.
Thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck.